Our visit begins in Belfast, the capital of Northern Ireland and the second largest city in Ireland after Dublin. I was here to attend a wedding, but I wasn't going to waste an opportunity to do some sightseeing as well. First of all, some background. If you're not familiar with the area, it's helpful to understand that Northern Ireland is actually part of the UK, formed in 1921 from the partition of Ireland. However, it does share an open border with the Republic of Ireland. This division created significant conflicts that still inhabit the recent memory of this region, the freshest being the Troubles that began in the late 60s. We'll come back to this later. Our accommodation was located in the Cathedral Quarter, which made most of the central attractions quite walkable. First stop was the Titanic Museum, probably the biggest attraction in Belfast. Opened in 2012, 100 years after the sinking of the Titanic, it covers the events around the construction of the ship right here in Belfast and its fateful voyage and sinking. I was actually quite impressed with the museum as it covered a lot of information and was pretty interactive. There was even one part where you get to go on a ride. It took us about 3 hours to go through it. The tickets also included entrance to the SS Nomadic ship, which we ended up visiting on a later date. After this, we decided to stop at a Nando's for dinner.
It was crazy. I came here last to the UK in 2022, and it was 1.5. That was the lowest it's been in the last 5 years.
While not Irish, it is certainly popular in the UK. When in Ireland, you can't miss out on an Irish pub. I found Kelly's Cellars recommended as a place to also enjoy some live music. It's one of the oldest pubs in Belfast, dating back to 1720. When we got there, we found the band seated in an inconspicuous corner of the pub. Another major thing I knew I wanted to do in Belfast was to take a tour to learn more about the Troubles. This most recent conflict began in the late 60s with origins that are deep-rooted and complex, so if I misstate anything, please feel free to correct me in the comments. After the partition of Ireland, Northern Ireland was composed of a majority of Unionists, or Loyalists, basically people who supported remaining part of the UK. The Nationalists, or Republicans, were those who wanted to be part of the Republic of Ireland. The Unionists heavily discriminated against the Nationalists, which played a significant role in the lead-up to the Troubles. Note that the conflict is often represented as purely motivated by religious differences, as many Unionists are Protestants and many Nationalists are Catholics. However, this is also a great simplification as roots can be traced all the way back to the 17th century during the plantation of Ulster and organized colonization of the Irish province of Ulster by the British. So this 3-hour walking tour that we took was actually split into 2 parts and led by 2 different guides separately. Both guides were ex-combatants during the conflict, but they were on opposing sides. That made it quite interesting as we got to hear both perspectives.
That's what it was like. They've all been demolished. Economically, the state has never been viable and created, but I'll tell you about that once we go.
During the tour, we visited some important areas, including the Falls Road, Shankill Road, and the Peace Walls. The Peace Walls were originally erected to divide the Nationalists and the Unionists and to minimize violence, but it was interesting to hear that the gates still close at night.
Every night still in 2025, the gates are closed at 10 o'clock at night. And that's just down to the people. Day when the mirror will be at the mirror up.
While the Troubles have technically ended, it's fascinating to see that the effects of the conflict can still be felt as you explore the city and this region. After the tour, we were ready to grab a bite to eat. We stopped by the Crown Liquor Saloon. It's an example of a Victorian gin palace dating back to the 1820s and is one of Northern Ireland's most famous pubs. It's very beautiful and has 10 snugs inside. Snugs are uniquely Irish, little enclosed or semi-enclosed booths that provide privacy for customers. I didn't realize that you had to book these Snugs in advance, as they are very popular. We ended up heading upstairs to the dining room as we wanted food. At this point in the afternoon, Belfast city centre was feeling fairly lively. We stopped by this local chocolatier called Daisy's. I picked up a hot chocolate with their homemade marshmallows, and we also grabbed one of their beautiful chocolate bars. It was all really good. Just gonna dump this one in as well. On our last morning in Belfast, we found a spot that was apparently popular with the locals. They also had a good breakfast deal as well. I like this milk bottle, it's so cute. I got the Belfast Bap, which is basically just a breakfast sandwich, a bap being a type of bread roll. The Belfast Bap is unique in that the crust is slightly charred.
The bread is black on top.
My partner ordered the filled soda, which seemed to be a breakfast sandwich made with soda bread. Because it took us so long to go through the Titanic Museum the other day, we didn't get a chance to visit the SS Nomadic. However, it's included on our ticket, and you're allowed to come back on a different day to visit it, so that's where we went next. The SS Nomadic is the last remaining White Star Line ship in the world and was also one of the tenders for the Titanic, transporting 274 passengers for that fateful maiden voyage. The ship has now been restored so that you can walk through and see what it would have been like being a passenger.
Look, it's Tim Hortons.
Our very last stop in Belfast was the Ulster Museum. Admission is free, and it features collections covering Northern Ireland's history as well as other art, archaeology, and more. It was a pretty good way to spend a couple hours. We left Belfast for a quick few days in the seaside town of Bangor in order to attend the wedding, and then we were soon back. Here we picked up a rental car and headed on our way out of the city.
Keep left after 300 yards and continue to follow the A2.
The plan was a little road trip across Northern Ireland, then crossing into the Republic of Ireland for a night before returning. Our first point of interest was the beautiful Glenariff Forest Park. There are a few different outdoor activities you can do here, including horse riding, but we were just interested in the waterfall walk. It's a loop about 3 kilometers long, passing by 2 different waterfalls.
Oh, look. I guess it's a bird.
I was also excited to find that there was a restaurant located partway through, so we decided to stop there for tea and scones.
I'm so excited.
After a lovely walk, we were back on the road. I would definitely recommend taking the scenic coastal road if you're going to be exploring Northern Ireland's coastline and heading to the Giant's Causeway. It really was quite stunning. Along the way, we made a quick photo stop at Dunseverick Castle, although you'd be wise to keep your expectations in check, as not much remains of the castle apart from ruins of the Gate Lodge. Its history dates back to the 5th century AD, with no one occupying it after its destruction in the 1650s. It is set in extremely picturesque surroundings, so not a bad spot to stop and look around. Next, the main attraction of the day. The Giant's Causeway is Northern Ireland's first UNESCO World Heritage Site and free to visit. The whole area is stunning, and if you take the trail that goes upwards, you get a great view of the dramatic cliffs. On the way to the causeway, we saw the Giant's organ pipes, basalt columns that resemble, well, giant organ pipes. The Giant's Causeway itself is actually a landform of 40,000 hexagonal basalt columns that jut out of the sea. When you get up close, you can see just how unusual looking it is. It formed around 60 million years ago when Ireland was still connected with North America. As Europe and North America split apart, the volcanic activity produced from the rifts created these interlocking basalt columns. There's actually a great story that accompanies this place. Legend says there was a giant who lived here named Finn McCool. He threw rocks into the sea to create this causeway in order to reach his rival in Scotland, a giant named Benindonner, and fight him. However, once he got there, he realized Benindonner was a much bigger giant, so he retreated back home. But Benindonner took the causeway over to reach Finn, so Finn's wife, Una, told Finn to pretend to be asleep and disguised him as a baby. When Benindonner saw Finn, he thought if the baby was that big, then the father must be huge. This spooked him so much he ran back across the causeway, tearing it up as he went. Finally, we headed to our accommodation. We were staying in the city of Derry for the night. Northern Ireland's second largest city, it's known for its city walls, the significant role it played in the Troubles, and of course, the show Derry Girls. It was pretty quiet when we arrived, and a lot of the shops were already closed. Our B&B host recommended that we have dinner at a place called the Bentley Bar, one of the few places that was still open later for food. And it was unexpectedly really good. The place didn't look like much when we walked in, so we kept our expectations low, but it surprised us. I had the steak and Guinness pie with chili chips, and it was incredibly delicious. We were up early the next morning to take a walk around the city walls. It's Ireland's only city that still has completely intact city walls. They were originally built between 1613 and 1619 to protect the Scottish and English planters during the plantation of Ulster. It's about 1.5 kilometers in circumference, surrounding the inner city, and has 7 gates in total. It's a nice way to look at the layout of the city from a higher vantage point. After this, we headed back to our B&B for breakfast. Our host actually cooked it up himself, a full Irish breakfast. This included sausage, bacon, egg, black and white pudding, tomato, beans, soda bread, and potato bread. It was perfect. We didn't have much time left in Derry, but we wanted to make sure we went to the Museum of Free Derry, as well as see some of the murals around that area. The museum tells the story of how the Troubles started in the context of the civil rights movements in the 60s, and the significant Bloody Sunday event that took place right here in Derry. On January 30th, 1972, British soldiers shot 26 unarmed civilians during a peaceful protest march, which led to the death of 14 men. What's astonishing was that it took until 2010 for the British government to apologize and acknowledge the responsibility of the British soldiers. It was now time to cross over into the Republic of Ireland, to County Donegal. Northern Ireland shares an open border with the Republic, so you'd barely notice that you've crossed it if it were not for the speed limit suddenly changing to kilometers per hour. County Donegal actually shares a much longer border with Northern Ireland than it does with the rest of the Republic, making it a bit isolated. I think many travelers to the Republic don't end up visiting it, which is a shame, as you will see. We were only staying here for a night, so it was very difficult for me to narrow down what I wanted to do or see to just a few choice spots. The first place I settled on was actually rather unexpected. Wild Alpaca Way is a family-run business that offers daily guided alpaca walks set against an incredible backdrop. It's home to 37 alpacas that basically just get to hang out here every day, graze, and go on walks. We ended up basically getting the guide to ourselves that day as it wasn't busy. Our alpacas' names were Tommy and Frank, and they were super sweet, extremely relaxed, and took every moment they could to stop and munch. After this fun little excursion, our tummies were a little rumbly, so we drove to a town called Buncrana for a bite to eat. Just before we headed off again, I spotted an ice cream truck, so I took the opportunity to grab a 99 flake, basically soft serve ice cream with a Cadbury flake stuck in it. There was one more attraction we wanted to visit today, and that was Greenon of Alliach, a stone fort situated at the top of a hill. It's unclear when the fort was originally built, but estimates place it between the Iron Age and the early medieval period. You can walk inside and up the walls to get a great 360-degree view of the surrounding land. For the night, we stayed in Letterkenny, a town that's actually also the largest town or settlement in County Donegal. After checking into our hotel, we just took a walk down the main street. It was already pretty quiet though. It was a bit moody out this morning, but it was perfect for where we were going. Glenveagh National Park is the second largest national park in Ireland. You can check their website to see what you might want to do while here. We decided on the Lakeside Walk, a 3.5-kilometer walk that runs along Lough Bay and leads to Glenveagh Castle and its gardens. There's also the option of taking a shuttle bus to the castle if you'd like. After this lovely morning, we drove all the way back to where we began our road trip in Belfast. Just before we reached the city, we made one stop at Carrickfergus Castle, one of Ireland's best preserved medieval castles. It was built in 1177 by a Norman knight named John de Courcy and has seen many battles and sieges throughout the years. You can visit various rooms in the castle, many of which feature props and decorations to give you an idea of what it might have been like in the past. Finally, it was time to drop off our car and say goodbye to Belfast. We took the train to Dublin and spent 2 nights, really just one whole day, in Ireland's vibrant capital city. We were greeted with incredible sunshine on this final day of our trip. Our accommodation was pretty centrally located, so we were able to walk everywhere. For breakfast and coffee, we headed north of the River Liffey to the up-and-coming neighbourhood of Smithfield. From there, we continued walking east and ended up on a retail street. In the distance, we could see a very tall and pointy steel monument, the Spire of Dublin. Upon reaching this structure, we turned to get onto Dublin's busy main street, O'Connell Street. It played a significant role in Irish history, not the least of which includes the 1916 Easter Rising, which was a rebellion against British rule in Ireland. Having come back down to the river, we walked along it until we reached a white bridge made of cast iron. Built in 1816, Halfpenny Bridge is Dublin's oldest pedestrian crossing over the River Liffey. Its name refers to the halfpenny toll charged to cross the bridge up until 1919. The south end of the bridge led us straight into Merchant's Arch. We were now in the famous Temple Bar district, home to its even more famous namesake pub. This wasn't the tourist trap that I was looking to stop at, so we strolled through and headed instead for another tourist trap, the Brazen Head pub. However, we got there soon after opening, which meant it wasn't too busy yet, and we got a table easily. It's known to be the oldest pub in Ireland, dating back to 1198. That is exactly the sort of information that would make me visit a place. And so, of course, when in Ireland, you drink Guinness beer.
Could I get a pint of Guinness?
This is Ireland's iconic stout, a staple in Irish culture. It's known for its double pour serve, or 2-stage pour, where the server first fills the glass 3/4 full and lets it settle before filling the rest of the glass so that the white foamy bit, known as the head, forms just a slight dome over the rim. This was actually done before the 1960s to manage the froth from different casks, but now the tradition is less a necessity and more a marketing tactic. While I typically don't drink dark beers and was pretty sure I didn't like Guinness the first time I tried it many years ago, when I drank it again on this trip, I actually quite enjoyed it. Some say it's just better in Ireland. Our next destination was the National Museum of Ireland, and on our way there we walked past a few other sites as well, including Dublin Castle, built in 1204, the Molly Malone statue commemorating the star of a popular Irish song about a fishmonger who died of a fever, and Trinity College Dublin, one of the ancient universities of Britain and Ireland, founded before 1600 AD. Many tourists visit the university these days to see the Book of Kells, an illustrated manuscript and gospel book made by Celtic monks around 800 AD. The National Museum of Ireland on Kildare Street is another museum with free admission. It contains collections relating to Irish history from the Stone Age all the way to the late Middle Ages. Most fascinating to me was the exhibit featuring bog bodies dating back to the Iron Age, which are remains of human bodies naturally preserved in peat bog. For our final meal of the day in Dublin, we had to try a dish that's apparently developed a bit of a cult following here, the spice bag. Locals on Reddit pointed to Xi'an's street food as one of the best spots to get this. We chose to order it as takeaway so that we could go to St. Stephen's Green to enjoy our meal. St. Stephen's Green is a popular Victorian public park centrally located in the city. Consisting of deep-fried salt and chili chicken and chips, the spice bag is mainly sold in Chinese takeaways throughout Ireland, though it's reported to have originated right here in Dublin. Salty and spicy, it was so yummy, and I can totally see why people love it. Honestly, no better way to wrap up my trip than with a spice bag in the park.